You guys all, let's all, no, come on, come on. You ready? Sound okay? My name is Andrew Stroth. I'm a civil rights attorney and the managing director of Action Injury Law Group, which is a Chicago-based but national civil rights law firm. I'm here today with my co-counsel partners, Stephen Hart, Brian Eldridge, Robert McLaughlin, and the rest of the team from HME. Also here today is Sierra Corbett, who's the mother of the young man who was unjustifiably shot and severely injured last week. 1 week later, we don't know everything that happened, and we haven't yet seen the video. But let me tell you what we do know. We do know that the city of Chicago is under a federal consent decree. We do know the city of Chicago has a pattern and practice of unjustified use of excessive and lethal force, especially in communities of color. We do know that in the past several years, there's been several foot pursuit cases that have ended in severe injury or death. Let's take a moment. Paul O'Neill, south side of Chicago. Maurice Granton, south side of Chicago. Pierre Lorre, west side of Chicago. Anthony Alvarez, Ricardo Hayes, and the list goes on and on. What we know is that this young boy, 13-year-old 7th grade boy, was unarmed. What we know is that the officers, based on witness reports, asked him to put his hands up. The young man put his hands up and was shot in the back immediately. What we know is after the shooting, the officers dragged his body away from that scene. And what we also know, at this hospital right here, this young man is fighting to be able to walk again. He has a major spinal cord injury. He has a bullet still lodged in his back. You talk to Mom. He likes to play basketball. He likes to ride his motorbike. We don't know if this young man will ever be able to do that again. This morning, our legal team filed a federal civil rights lawsuit against the city of Chicago and the yet-to-be-named officer that shot this 13-year-old 7th grader. Ms. Corbett is asking for full transparency. She's asking for a full investigation. She wants to find truth of what happened and hold the officer accountable. We're asking Mayor Lightfoot, we're asking Superintendent Brown to turn over the evidence so this mother can see why her son was shot and injured the way he was. How many black and brown individuals need to be shot, killed, or severely injured, like Ms. Corbett's son, until the city of Chicago will change and implement a real foot pursuit policy? So with that, I'm going to turn it over to my co-counsel, Stephen Hart.
Thank you all for being here today. Obviously, this is a very traumatic time for Sierra and her family. But this was important to her. So we brought you together. We want to tell you what we know so far. My name is Stephen Hart, S-T-E-V-E-N-H-A-R-T. I'm with the Chicago law firm of Hart, McLaughlin, and Eldridge. AG, we're using his initials. He's minor, 13-year-old 7th grader, citizen of Chicago. He's in the hospital behind us, where he has been for the last 8 days, fighting for his life because of gun violence in this city. And we know in this world today, in our communities, in our society, we hear too many stories about gun violence. But what's shocking about this case is the irresponsible use of a firearm by those that are sworn to protect us. By a Chicago police officer of a 13-year-old boy who was unarmed and heeding the warnings of the Chicago police officer who shot him. He was instructed to stop and put his hands up. He stopped and put his hands up. And that wasn't good enough, because then he received a bullet to his back. He was no threat or danger to anyone. He presented no threat or danger to the police. This must be examined. Sierra is asking for this to be examined. We must hold authority accountable. We must speak truth to power. She is not a woman of great means. She doesn't have armies of representatives. She wasn't asked by the commander of the police department about her feelings and what she knew before the commander went behind a microphone and accused her son of things, suggesting in some way that it justified him being shot as an unarmed 13-year-old in the back by a Chicago police officer. We're reminded too often about the gun violence in this country and in our communities. Okay. But our police are supposed to use their handguns and firearms responsibly. Too often in this city, that is not the case. Andrew recounted 6 or 7 instances recently. There are many, many more. This is as much an institutional problem with the city's police department as it is the officer who shot AJ. There simply is not the appropriate emphasis, training, and care of officers who are carrying Chicago Police Department issued firearms. There can be no justification for opening fire on a 13-year-old boy with his hands up and who was unarmed. And so we're asking the city to be transparent. We're asking the city to produce all body cams, all video evidence. The community deserves it. Sierra and her family deserve it. AJ deserves it. We are going to fight for AJ. We are going to fight for the community, and we're going to fight for safety, because this has got to stop. Thank you.
So next we're going to have Ms. Sierra, Cierra Corbitt, Corbitt, the mother of the 13-year-old young man.
Hello, everybody. All I have to say is today that I'm just concerned about my child. He might not walk again. He laying up there, he cry all the time because he just wish he would have stayed in the house that day because he might not ever walk again. And it's sad because he liked to play ball, he liked to ride bikes, he liked to play football. He been on Chicago Vikings team, the Chicago Park District. He just won't be able to do all that again if he's never able to walk. And it's crazy because they had no reason to shoot my child. He complied with them and all they had to do was grab him. All I want is justice for my baby. That's all I want. I don't really care about too much else. I just want justice for my child.
So we will take a few questions if there's any. If not, it's going to be pretty brief today. Go ahead.
In terms of the video, I know COPA has said they have body cam, pod cam, third-party video. Have you formally requested to see it?
We have early next. We have spoken to COPA, and we will be seeing Ms. Corbitt and our legal team will be watching the videos early next week. But we have not seen it yet.
Do you want it to be made public?
We 100% want the video made public. Many times in this city, they tried to hide behind the Juvenile Act. When the spirit of that law is to protect the parents. Ms. Corbitt wants the video released so people can see what happened to her baby.
So as far as the consent decree, from what I understand, reading in the lawsuit, right now there's only a temporary foot pursuit policy in place. What specifically do you think they should have done differently at this scene? And what would you like to see change in this foot pursuit policy?
Yes, thank you. So a temporary pursuit policy was instituted in September of 2021. It was 8 months late under the requirements and deadlines for the consent decree. That foot pursuit policy was not followed. The city violated at least 2 general orders, their own policies in this shooting. Excessive use of force policy. You're not supposed to fire on someone that doesn't present an immediate threat to the public. This young man presented no threat to the public, was not carrying any firearms or weapons of any kind. The temporary foot pursuit policy suggests that this officer should have never drawn his weapon. His weapon shouldn't have been out when he was chasing this 13-year-old boy. We know from foot pursuits that they are an emergent scenario, that emotions are running high, adrenaline's running high. You should not have your firearm out and carrying it and pointed at anybody during a foot pursuit. Furthermore, there is no permanent general order foot pursuit policy for the City of Chicago Police Department. That's outrageous. The Department of Justice, the Police Accountability Task Force, in 2016, in 2017, examined this issue directly. This is also in our complaint. They said the city must institute a foot pursuit policy for the safety of the public, and it still hasn't been done.
And whether it's a foot pursuit policy or a vehicle pursuit, the number one standard is protect the sanctity of life. Protect the sanctity of life. This was a 13-year-old boy running away, presenting no danger, and was shot in the back, and now, as Ms. Corbett said, is fighting to see if he'll ever walk again. Anything else? Yeah.
What would you say to the folks that are, going to be emailing me saying if this young man was involved, potentially, according to the superintendent of police, he may have been involved in a previous carjacking and also was, this car had been used?
Well, first of all, he has not been formally charged. The police department has submitted a report to the juvenile courts suggesting that there may be some charge around a possession of a stolen vehicle. But that said, it doesn't matter. Nothing he did could possibly warrant being shot and potentially paralyzed.
Conflating those 2 issues is outrageous. There's a civil justice system that we have in this country. If there was something that they wanted to charge him with, they have to charge him with it. He has to plead. There has to be representation, and then they can prove their case. They've come forward with no evidence, no substantiating witness, no corroborating witness to suggest what involvement he had. And then after Commander Brown goes off in that respect, he goes, oh, and the young man was shot in the back unarmed. We think it was inappropriate for him to do that. We think he did it purposefully, and we think it's shameful.
Your point about not conflating them is well taken. Are you saying that Superintendent Brown was incorrect in what he said, or just that he shouldn't have said it?
He had no business casting aspersions to a 13-year-old boy to justify his shooting. There's no basis to do that. Why he decided to do that is up for public debate. We have our own take on it. But in no way, shape, or form could a 13-year-old that's unarmed be shot upon. Even if he had been involved in some prior incident, which is yet to be established. What prior incident, we're uncertain. And what's interesting here is that they're casting all these aspersions without coming forward with any evidence, proof, testimony, witness, or otherwise.
So while you all go back to your jobs and Mayor Lightfoot says there's an investigation and Superintendent Brown says things that we don't know if they're true or untrue, Ms. Corbett is going back into Stroger Hospital. She's going upstairs to deal with her son that may never ride a bike again, who may never play basketball again. So we're going to fight on behalf of this family to get justice, and hopefully the city of Chicago will learn that they have to have a real foot pursuit policy to protect folks, especially in communities of color. So
I will add one more thing then. I'm sorry, Andrew.
Go.
The community wants to understand the cycle of violence in this city. They want to understand why our city, perhaps more than others, has issues with violence. They need look no further than police shooting unarmed black and brown babies. The circle of mistrust associated with that is palpable, and it's a real issue. Talk about random gun violence. Here's a police officer shooting a kid that's unarmed. Something's wrong about that. And that's part of the problem. And I'm not the only one saying it as a plaintiff's lawyer. The Department of Justice has said it. The Police Accountability Task Force has said it, and the chairman of the Police Accountability Task Force in 2016 and 2017 was Lori Lightfoot, our mayor.
All right, thank.
For the mother, I know there's a photo of your son in the lawsuit. Are we able to name him? Would you like us to use his
No.
name or not at this time?
Not
That
at this
photo
time.
is okay.
The photo is okay.
Okay.
Good.
And if you have any other photos, we could share them amongst each other.
Okay, and then yeah, we'll get other photos, and you should all have the lawsuit. Thank you very much. Thank you very
Can I
much.
ask a clarification? You referred to AJ a couple times.
It's AG.
It's
AG.
AG. Thank you.
Brian, that's the date of that photo. What's the date of that photo?